Good evening and welcome to another exciting show. And tonight we got Survival Steve. Good evening, Survival Steve. Hey, if you're
Eric.
in America, good afternoon if you're in America. So there we go. And glad you could join us. Let's have a look, see who's in live chat, shall we? Oh, we got Embro. Good evening. Hello, Embro. And we got Matilda. And of course, the first person in chat always has a choice of who we can stick two fingers up of a politician or celebrity of their choice. So we're ready with the raspberries there, ready up. There we go. But anyway, how's things, Steve? I mean, it's quite nice weather. Well, I don't want to say nice weather, but it's a bit mild, isn't it, for this time of the year? Because you're up north, aren't you?
I'm up north, sunny Newcastle. Yeah, it's been pretty warm today. Apparently, I heard it was about 7 degrees, which is, I think it feels warm compared to some of the weather we have had. And I don't know about you, but we've had some pretty heavy snow here in the last few weeks.
No, we didn't. Because I was about 400 miles south from you, isn't it? I don't know.
Oh, of course. You live in the Mediterranean, don't you?
Oh, bloody hell. I mean, I'm a southern bloody Jesse, aren't I? I mean, us bloody southern Jessies, you know, or was it spineless southerner? From bleeding Hertfordshire, you are, you know. And,
some of the things I've got to demonstrate tonight might be a waste of time for some of you southern Jessies.
well, we can't get home for our cocoa, you know. No. But we're talking about. Now, this is an interesting one. Asperger's as Fudge, our cultural attaché, has said global warming. Now, I believe global warming is as much bullshit as all the rest of it. But have you noticed a change with all the chemicals they're spraying in the sky and things like that? I mean, you're a man who's out in the countryside a lot and in nature. Have you noticed a change at all?
I can't say I've noticed any change to the weather, but the things, the streaks in the sky, I mean, I notice them on a regular basis. I mean, they go in fits and starts. I don't know if it's the same down south. So sometimes they're very prolific and you see them all the time. And then the sky starts to milk over. Then suddenly a nice day turns into something not quite as nice. It grays over, you know, which I presume is part and parcel of what that's going on.
I agree with you. But I mean, I've got a solar charger because I'm a tight-fisted bastard on my smart car. Because smart cars, the early ones, batteries alive. I don't know what it is, electronics or something. So I put a solar charger on it because I don't use it every day. And when it's nice and sunny, it charges the battery up. But strictly you got chemtrails, and suddenly you get that sort of like that fog come over. The old charging rate goes and just drops like a stone. It's surprising. It's bright, but you're not getting that charge, you know. Mm-hmm. But anyway, sorry, you were going to say, mate.
While it's on the tip of my mind, the UK's program for the let's call it the chemtrail program is known as stratospheric aerosol transportation and nucleation. So,
bloody hell.
But if you break down that into is it an acronym where you break down the first letter of each word? SATAN, Satan.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, the UK's geoengineering program is known as Satan. That speaks volumes.
It certainly does, doesn't it? And that reminds me of the old Swedish chemist shop joke talking about aerosols. Would you like to hear the old Swedish chemist shop joke? Man walks into Swedish chemist shop, says, "Hello." Or aerosol? No, I just want it for under the arms. Sorry. That is a terrible joke, isn't it? But anyway.
Great accent, though. You had me fooled.
But yes, it's like Satan as an anagram of Santa, isn't it? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, where are we going tonight, Steve? Because we was talking before we went on live on the air that hang on, we've just been joined by our Transport Minister. Good evening, Sir Royal Hanorak. No, he's just plugging his microphone in, I think.
Right.
But whilst he's doing that, what I was going to say is that I was saying that if there's a solar flare hit the Earth, which it did in 1857, I could be wrong. I haven't looked it up. And that was the Carrington event, which knocked out telegraph poles and things like that. As 99% of people weren't on electricity in those days, people carried on life as normal. We didn't even know about it. So if we had another Carrington event, we'd have no electricity. It'd fry our electrical components and things. We wouldn't have electric cars. I don't think you'd be able to drive any cars. And not too sure about the old ones, but we would have to survive without electricity. And the only people that would survive would be those in the jungles that haven't got electricity.
So, good evening to you both, by the way. Yes, I was talking to myself a minute ago, so I do apologise.
Good evening. Yes.
Hello.
As long as hello, Paul. We can call you Paul because there's no other Pauls on here. So it's Paul.
Yeah. Well, you call me every other name under the sun, so you might as well call me that one and all.
But anyway, Steve, what direction are we going to go start off with tonight?
Well, I think from the last time I was on, we kind of started off with the theme of survival. Then it quickly detracted into talking about, the Antichrist and, the brainwashed members of society and all sorts of occult themes. If you like, I mean, as you can probably tell behind me, I've got a number of items from my wardrobe. And in case people are wondering, I couldn't find an ironing board, so I went for something different.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, well,
I thought it was a crowd of people behind you initially.
Yeah, a load of admirers or something. Just people.
I thought you was hanging Jehovah's Witnesses. I like hanging baskets. There's a couple of Jehovah's Witnesses here. So. Yeah. So, but
I thought I'd mention because obviously it's the winter time. I thought it might be seasonal and topical to maybe talk about some cold weather survival. Options. Yes. So I've got a few different things that we can show and tell, similar to last time.
And also, if we're conscripted to go to Greenland, you see, I bought myself a scarf, especially in case I was conscripted to go to Greenland, because I've been told it's a bit cold there, so that should keep me nice and warm, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, I've heard conscription's open to anybody under the age of 85. So.
So I'm in then. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's practically everybody. We're all capable of being conscripted. I wonder if they'd invite me back after I've served legal notice on the MOD and give them an advanced copy of some book material that I was writing at the time, which sounds like a time for a shameless plug. I didn't submit this to the Ministry of Defence. However, I would encourage them to read it and stand on the right side of history for once in their lives.
And what do you think of that weirdo that's putting the shits up with everybody? We've got to be in a state of war. We've got to fight a war like World War II and worry. It's terrible and all this crap. I mean,
you'll have to tell me who that. You'll have to tell me who that is. I don't watch the news.
I don't know who it was. Someone in chat find out who it was. Some sort of airy ass bastard from.
Was it somebody? Somebody in uniform.
Yeah.
Well, he's obviously a complete imbecile. I mean, why is any serving soldiers, have they seriously not had a word with themselves yet? They need they really need to wake up. Anybody who's still wearing uniform, for me, you've lost all credibility. In the last 5 years, for sure, you've lost all credibility. I mean, I've tried. I don't know what else I can do, to be quite honest. I mean, I've formed a group known as Soldiers Against. Can I say the S word on YouTube?
Yeah, why not?
Soldiers Against Syringes. I'm saying that weirdly, so the algorithm will not pick it up. Many people have obviously left that channel because it's obviously too much for them to contemplate, simply because they've got the brain cells of the average sized dormouse. So sadly, I can't get a message through to many people. I've served legal notice on the MOD, the Ministry of Defence, and I've also spoken and served notice to defence ministers. So you'd think by now they might have read the memo that something's seriously going wrong with the world.
There certainly is.
I was watching a video from Eric Dubay. Do you know Eric Dubay on YouTube? And he was talking about symbolism and words, and Min and Mon all linked to the satanic world. I can't remember what he said. I've got to watch it again at some point. But yeah, there was it's to do with the moon and Isis and that sort of thing. And the dollar sign is ISIS.
ISIS,
basically.
yeah.
Now,
See,
sorry, carry on, mate.
Oh, well, okay. I was just going to add to what Paul's saying there. Occultism, and this is why I talk about occultism. Symbolism is part of the occult themes. And if people, there's a lot of people, even in the truth movement, seem to just reject anything that's got the word occult attached. Yes. I hate to say it, but the occult dominates existence. That's practically everything that goes on in the world has got occult themes behind it. So practically every symbol in the world, you could say, has got some sort of occult meaning, hidden meaning to it that most people would either ignore or have got no idea about, which is why it's important for more people to become acquainted with the occult themes so they can warn others and point out what's going on in the world.
And also, they'll have a look in the dictionary as well, because occult, people think it's all voodoo, whatso, and that it's not really. It's things that are hidden, and sometimes hidden in plain view. And but mind you, Truth and Truth Seeker says yes, we had a yellow snow warning. Well, yellow snow. did you really? Yes, I had a yellow snow warning, but luckily my lavvy was shall we say, I fixed the lavvy, so I didn't have to have a yellow snow warning. But anyone who's eating yellow snow needs their head testing. Yeah, especially if an Alsatian has passed by there recently. Yes. So I wouldn't eat the yellow snow.
I tell you what, somebody else has put some excellent words of advice on the chat there. That's Stephen Truthseeker, top lad. That buffoon Trump. Yeah, Trump. There's loads of Trumpty numpties still in the truth movement, and I just think, which part of truth, the word truth, do the truth movement not understand? Because Trump is he's just the Antichrist. I don't know how they haven't made that conclusion yet.
He is, and I saw a fantastic. I think it was on TikTok or YouTube today, and he's a rabbi who's anti-Israel and pro a country which we're not allowed to mention, and he was talking a lot of sense. And he's, and he was basically saying what we're saying, good, honest, decent folk don't need these assholes. He didn't say it like that. In power. That's it. Good, decent, honest folk get on all right with each other. And that's basically it. Which is pissed off with it. Yeah.
Yeah. What you've just said there is essentially the secret of secrets. So I mean, as you know, I talk exclusively about a subject known as natural law, which is the laws written, let's just say written or created by the hands of God, the creator of the universe, which most people just choose to ignore. However, if more people acknowledge and accept that there is laws, hidden laws, and just as you said, the word occult means hidden. So when people accept and understand hidden laws, natural law, the ones written by God, the creator, I have a sneaky suspicion that the world might not be as shit as it is now when we choose to ignore it. So
I agree with you. And
the one thing I will bring up on that is that something I went to check quite a few years ago is in Parliament Square. I may have said this before, but apologies if I'm repeating myself. That you got the Abraham Lincoln Memorial in Parliament Square. And in front of that is a bus stop letter Q that no buses ever call at. No, nothing. No one stops there. No buses call there. And they've never stopped there. But the bus stop flag is there with a letter Q. And the bus route, one of the bus routes that passes it is 88, which links to time travel and Trump.
That's hilarious. Is that true?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Good God, that is weird. Now,
which is one thing, which is why I'm still sitting on the fence with this, because I mean, if I mean locally here in where I live, if a bus no longer calls at a bus stop, they take the flag down. But that flag's it's still there. If I Google Earth it now, it'd still be there. It doesn't make sense. If it's not being used, then take it down. So it obviously must mean something.
That's right. But these people in power, like politicians, are bought, and they're also blackmailed. And if they don't do what they're told to do, then it will be revealed. And when you look back through history, most of the politicians are bought. I mean, there is, shall we say, there's evidence pointing towards Trump. I can't say definitely. There appears to be, shall we say, some people. I mean, he was bailed out of debt. Who knows? Put two and two together. I mean, you can't get into a position that he's in unless you, shall we say, well, you know a lot of people in the right places. Let's leave it at that.
But then,
can I pick up on what you're saying there? Sorry, Paul. I'll let you continue because I want to explore what you.
All I was going to say is that, I mean, I've certainly seen pictures of where I think there was about 15 or 20 different Joe Bidens. So is it a possibility that the Trump we're seeing now isn't the one that was in power 4 years ago, 5 years ago? Has he been taken out? Is he a body double? Because he seems to behave a lot differently to the one that was in when he was in power the last time.
So if it was, I mean, just out of curiosity, if let's just say this is a different Trump, a clone or somebody wearing a mask or an imposter, well, he still stands for government. Government will always mean mind control, and mind control can only occur when you manipulate human consciousness in order to exploit people. So therefore, all government and all authority will always be evil until the end of time. And anybody who follows, obeys, or participates in the fake illusion of authority called government will always advocate for evil. And therefore, if the majority of the world advocates for government, we will always have a world which embraces evil, hence the fact that it sucks. So it makes no difference who a particular person might be behind a mask in the seat of power. It's all a big, massive illusion based on the beast system.
But then when Trump was in power the first time, he was the individual who potentially started our journey on waking a lot of people up. I know he brought in the V's, but was that intentional to get people to start and think, hang a second, these people aren't on our side?
Well, here's the thing. Just on that, let's just say if he was a force for good and he wanted to wake people up, well, why not, instead of poisoning thousands, if not millions of people and killing women, children, and all the rest of it with the thingy,
medical intervention.
Exactly.
Medical intervention. Yes.
And let's say lots of people are either pulseless or injured as a result of that. Why didn't he just go on TV and say, "Here, folks, it's Donald Trump here. Could you lot read this book?" I'll put that on again for anyone who didn't see it. Fake awake. Believe it or not, it wasn't written at the time. But what he could have done is he could have, it's Donald Trump here. Could all of you stupid morons who still support the government read this book? It's not even an inch thick. You could read that in 2 afternoons and you'll become enlightened to the point where your entire world will shake to the core. He could have mentioned, "Here, folks, read these books. There's actually a third part of this, which I haven't got at the minute. Read those books, and guess what? Your illusion in government will completely degrade overnight. And then once it's digested and assimilated by some of the ones who can rub brain cells together, your worldview will change enormously, and you will wonder how you've managed to go through life believing that authority is necessary or essential. It's all an illusion based on a pantomime. All of it.
But
You're
then I
right.
suppose, the wake up process for some, or for many people, would be a slow process. Because
Yeah.
if they suddenly came out tomorrow and put on the news, every celebrity is a pedo, there'll be people out there who won't be able to take that news. They'll hear it and think, you won't be able to get a train down our line for falling bodies for people being in shock. So maybe it has to be drip
I
fed out
agree.
in a slow process to
You're
get
right.
people to wake up.
But look at people like Chairman Mao. Now you put all the other dictators. I mean, when you come to dictators, Chairman Mao was a creme de la creme. I mean, he puts all the other ones into a sort of cocked hat. I mean, he managed to get rid of. I shouldn't say rid. That's the wrong word. To, shall we say, kill. They reckon they're not sure, but it's around 1 billion people. He was responsible for more deaths than any other person. I think you could put all the other dictators next to it. He was the dictator's dictator. And he couldn't do it on his own. He needed willing participants. How did he do it? He brainwashed the children to turn against their parents. And there's a lot of adults today in China that feel very guilty for turning their parents in, and they never saw their parents again. Now, just think, one man, that power to destroy so many people. This is why it's so bloody dangerous. And this is why I bang on about demonic psychopaths. He was a demonic psychopath. And if you look at Dr. Edward Dutton, the Jolly Heretic, I don't know if you're aware of the Jolly Heretic at all. Do you ever? I follow him. Have you seen him?
No.
He's looked at the psychology of police, and he reckons the majority of them, from his research, are psychopaths. The overall majority.
Yeah. I've worked with the police tons, and I would. Do you know what? I've worked with loads of the coppers, some of whom have been friends, and they've all, for the majority of them, I would say, are sound blokes who you'd go for a beer with without a drama. But I would say the police need to be eradicated. It needs to be a thing of history, because this is one of the big things that's causing such destabilization in society. And a lot of people think I'm off my trolley talking that the police need to be dismantled, along with the military, along with the government. It all needs dismantled.
I agree.
But I can prove, again, I probably wouldn't be able to prove it in this conversation this evening, but I can prove through my lecture series that all these institutions that we take for granted, such as the police, are full of demonic psychopaths. They wouldn't exist if it wasn't for psychopaths who were incapable of empathy and right brain consciousness. It simply wouldn't exist. These people are low consciousness, high ego, and high psychopathy. And these are the monsters who are supposed to be in charge of how society functions in a moral capacity. It'll never be moral when we've got all of those three entities. Simple as.
Would you say, though, that if the police force went back to what it was supposed to be, i.e., the Bobby on the beat, and they're just to keep the peace, which is what the role of the police constable was supposed to be in the first place, rather than being policy officers, etc., to make the money for the government, would you restart the police again? Would you have a police force if it was based on simply they are there just to keep the peace and nothing more?
If society are better educated into morality, the police become extinct overnight.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
The reason the police exist is because society is deliberately, using the terminology, let's call it for what it is, order out of chaos. That's how society functions, or that's rather how the psychopathic ruling elite enable society to function, order out of chaos. They keep people dumbed down deliberately in order to keep them in a low state of consciousness, high ego, low IQ, in order to keep consciousness low. And when consciousness is low, morality is low. And when morality is low, then the ruling class can claim authority over others in order to claim the control that the society then requires.
Spot right on. And I'll give an example where the police is not required. Now, he's long passed on now, but I had a relative who is English, but he married a Italian lady. This was shortly after World War II, and they decided to live in Athens in Greece. So that was in the early 1950s. So they got married. So I think they met in the late 40s. And it was my cousin actually, and he said to me, he said, when they first went to Athens, the police didn't have hardly anything to do, because if a woman got raped or molested, the families would sort it out, and somebody would be dealt with. They'd know who it was. And he said people were law abiding. And he said they didn't take. He said, and women weren't molested. He said a woman could walk down the street at any time of the day or night and wouldn't be touched.
To elaborate on what Paul's saying, because Paul, I think you've got some excellent points, and I'm glad you're bringing these up personally, because I'm sure a lot of people have got these points, and these are the kind of things that we need to be addressing in our wider society, certainly amongst our truth community, so we can come as truthers having a better understanding than the average Joe out on the streets of Civiland, who will most, if you try to tell them that the police are actually, you need to eradicate them if you want a more peaceful society, then most of them would they don't get it at all. But to elaborate on what you're saying there, the police were never formulated to have a Dixon of Dock Green type mentality. It was always going to develop into a society where there's going to be less moral consciousness amongst people. That they need that in order for authority to function. It needs to have people with two-tier consciousness. It needs to have the general public at a low state of consciousness, i.e., not understanding morality and rights, and a ruling elite who do understand these principles. And this is a big thing. How many people go to school or any form of education and they get told what's the difference between right and wrong? And I know I've mentioned this on the show before, the difference between right and wrong, and there is an objective truth to this, but nobody ever gets told it. So we've got a massive society full of millions, billions of people who fundamentally do not know the difference between right and wrong. And I'm just going to mention that. I'm going to mention what that is now, simply because most people don't know it. And I would ask for whoever's watching this evening or watching in YouTube land at a later date, before I mention it, just have a think to yourselves. Do I really know the difference? Not me, yourselves. Do I really know the difference between right and wrong? Can I define it in words, without hesitation? So I'll mention that now, and I'll see how that compares, or
we'll see what comes up.
Mark, what it compares to your own understanding.
Mark Anthony has said that Larkin Rowe's book is essential reading. I'd agree with you there. And Asperger's as Fudge. What a charming name. Is Survival Steve familiar with Thomas Sheridan? He was the bloke who wrote Puzzling People. He bangs on about natural law quite a lot as well, and is an interesting, knowledgeable chap. Yes, an Irish chap. He wrote the book Puzzling People. That I don't fully agree with all that he says, and I don't mean that from a condescending way. He could be right, I could be wrong, but there's certain things, like he mentioned, I believe, that all psychopaths have high testosterone and sweat a lot. I haven't found that.
So I'm massively familiar with Thomas Sheridan. His work's excellent. I'll be honest, I haven't seen any of his stuff in probably the last couple of years, but definitely recommend it. Michael Tsarian's another great Irishman. Again, I've not seen much of him in the last few years, but his stuff is, I would say, massively essential. And there is 2 other names that came up in chat there, which I would 101% highly recommend for every single member of the truth community in order to come to a better understanding. And the first one is Larkin Rose, who wrote this book. And again, I recommend this book in practically every presentation I've done since I started speaking in sort of on occult themes. I highly recommend Larkin Rose, and the other personality is Mark Passio, who somebody's mentioned in chat. Yes, I follow his work enormously, simply because he's the world's leading expert on natural law. And if people aren't familiar with natural law or Mark Passio, then their understanding of the world will massively improve once you target that work. But should I mention the distinction between right and wrong, because I know there's probably a lot of people in the land of YouTube.
Quite a few in chat here, so far away, Steve, and then shall I go through the ones that people what they've answered in chat?
Yeah, do you want to do that first?
So if you like to say, well, it's entirely up to you.
All right,
you say your view first?
Yes. Yeah, sure, I'll mention it. So the difference between right and wrong. A right is any action that causes no harm to any living being. I'll say that again. A right is any action that causes no harm to any living being. A wrong is any action that does cause harm to any other living being. So it's a pretty simple explanation. Yet, what does that mean? Well, that means if I want to smoke weed all day long and nobody's getting harmed by the process of doing that, I should be allowed, because it's a right written into the laws of creation, that I should be able to do that without any detriment to myself. So if a policeman, for example, comes along and he breaks down my door, or he takes possession of the said substance, and he gives me a ticket or a fine or imprisonment, the police are in the wrong because they've harmed my being for something that I have a right in nature to do. Now, this is why and people wonder why the world's turning into horse crap. Why? Because we do not understand the distinction between right and wrong. In other words, we lack a moral education, so we don't understand morality, therefore our consciousness remains low. So as long as our consciousness is low, we're always going to be persecuted, and we're always going to be arbitrarily ruled over psychopathic lunatics who seem to think they've got an authority over others, which that right does not exist. They do not have any right over anybody.
I agree. Now, the town crier says the police are Parliament's standing army, which is illegal under the English Constitution. So that's interesting.
Is that in chat, is it?
That's in chat, and I do believe under the English Constitution that we have the right to bear arms.
Yeah.
That's second-hand information.
I've only got human ones.
The town crier, who I think I know who that is, might be able to add to that. So, yes. And Stephen Truthseeker said, police targeted me. They can do that, yes. And this is a good one. Sorry, mate. Yeah, carry on.
I was going to say, where can I get some bear arms from? Because you keep talking about bear arms, but mine are just human ones.
Well, that's right. It was like the Spike Milligan, was it Silly Verses, where you see a bloke with loads of arms hanging from his coat. He says, an armed person. Now, Matilda Warra says the difference between right and wrong is wrong has a silent W. Interesting. I think Michael, I can never pronounce his surname, Tsarian got switched in 2014. He's not the same anymore. Sorry, not the same. Anyone more, I might be wrong, but Zarian has been supporting Trump. Yes. Well, Trump, I think, but anyway, we now have another person in the studio. And good evening, mysterious person in studio. And you've turned up, and to prove it, you're here.
Hello.
And I
hello.
think
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello,
David.
Hi. Hello. Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Steve. Yeah. Hi, Eric. Yeah.
Hello,
thank
man.
you. Hello there.
Do you know Steve? Steve, Eric, Steve.
Yeah. I do know Steve, and and we've had a chat before and stuff. But and one thing I want to say, I mean, I'm a bit late setting up, so I've missed the topic of this. But I do like the shows that you do with Steve, and I've come on all the survival ones before, and all the gadgets, and I think that's great stuff. And
that's coming up after 9, I believe. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, why not? We'll do some survival stuff later on. Yeah, I've got plenty of gadgets to show and tell. So,
looking forward to that.
Yeah, thanks for what you're saying there. I appreciate that.
Well, no, I want to say one. I think that I think Steve, given his background, has got a really good. He's still got that edge, that he's still a little bit angry and a bit determined to change things in a way that I think we're all a bit delicate in this area, because, of course, especially in England, we're getting our YouTube channels taken away. We've got to be very careful. We're careful, what our neighbour's going to think. And I think Steve's quite brave, given his background, that with some of the stuff he says. And I'm a bit of a angry person sometimes as well. So I like the way he comes across, and I appreciate the fact that he's prepared to actually do that. But I'll sit on the sidelines. I'm happy to come in at any point you want.
Fair enough. And now, when Steve does his demonstrations, it might be, not being rude, but it might be easier, David, if you switch the camera off when he does his demonstrations, because the viewers will be able to have a larger screen. But please don't take that personal. Please don't take that personal. I understand.
Don't get offended.
Now, you was going to say, Steve, we're saying about government and that, and. Sorry, Dave, mate. No, you're saying about government. I mean, to me, as I've said many times before, we need government like an elephant needs a hang glider.
You only need government if you want to remain in a state of low consciousness and you wish to be persecuted and treated like slaves. If you don't want that and you want the world to improve and to establish peaceful coexistence, then you need to understand why government is an illusion. You also need to understand why government is evil. And until people come to that understanding in their own heads, then they will always remain as slaves, and they'll always remain at the beck and call of the satanic ruling elite. It's as simple as that. It's either you get rid of government and establish peaceful coexistence by raising consciousness, or you don't, and you remain as slaves and become persecuted and treat yourselves to World War III, which is imminent, the way that they're going on. But can I come to somebody's point in chat? It was Paul
Certainly.
Stubbs who said Steve's explanation of the difference between right and wrong depends entirely on whatever perspective you view it from. So I'm just going to establish something here. This falls under something known as moral relativism, which happens to be the second leading tenet of a religion known as Satanism. It's known as moral relativism. So this is about the understanding that morality can be changed on a whim. Morality is written into the architecture of creation. It is a rule, a law of nature that cannot change, will never change, and it doesn't depend on anybody's opinion. Morality is fixed in nature. The difference between right and wrong cannot be changed on anybody's opinion. That's the satanic tenet known as moral relativism. So it's not what somebody's opinion might be, and it doesn't depend on anybody's perspective. It's written into the architecture of the universe. So morality will always be fixed. It's known as objective truth. So what I've given is the objective truth on the difference between right and wrong. That will never change. I can't change that explanation.
I agree. And morality also, it turns out, in what we would indicate in inverted commas, savage societies. Because when you look at, there's a book called Savage People, which is about a tribe who were bloody violent. And there was an anthropologist who went to live amongst them. He spoke their language. In fact, he married one of the women from that tribe. And he was an American. And he said that he had a kind of moral code. He never once saw them going to the lavatory, never once saw them having sex, even though they didn't wear anything. And he said they brought their children up quite strict. And he said, there was a sort of even though they murdered each other and they were very violent, there was a sort of a code and it's a bit like Jimmy Boyle. I don't know if you've heard of a chap called Jimmy Boyle. Now, some people can start off, you think they're thugs, you think they're psychopaths, you think they're terrible. Now, Jimmy Boyle, he was a Glaswegian gangland member and he murdered someone. And he was sent to jail. And the psychiatrists that saw him eventually married him. And when he got released, he was a completely reformed man and one of the nicest people you could ever wish to meet. And I believe he had the guts and the front to approach the family of the person he murdered and apologise. That takes guts. So,
well, speaking of murderers, anybody who's a member of the armed forces, as I once was, is an advocate for murder, as an advocate for violence and an advocate for all the transgressions of the laws written into the universe which describe morality. And I mean, I appreciate what Paul's written there. I think that's a really good point that he's mentioned, which I'm glad I've had the opportunity to, I don't want to sound, condescending, but I'm glad I was able to kind of identify that, question it and correct that, because this is why, and I hate to say it, this is why society is a little bit behind the curve when it comes to understanding occult knowledge, because really we as truthers should be massively up to speed, especially after, let's just say, a lot of people have kind of woken up since the health emergency 5 or 6 years ago. That's 5 or 6 years where we could have, if we weren't held to be barking up the wrong tree by a lot of these celebrity truthers who spout absolute garbage, and it's keeping people held back from receiving a proper understanding into the occult themes that are necessary to get us out of this mess. And again, I'll say that again, unless we embrace and accept and acknowledge occult level understanding, we will never get out of the mess that we are in. In fact, I would say it will get worse, because this book here, Fake Awake, this probably sounds like a dig at the truth movement, which in part it is. And simply because, why? Because the truth movement could be the people who save humankind from its imminent destruction, because we are falling into lots of different mind traps, psyops, psychological warfare, cognitive warfare. We're in a game that a lot of people are very inexperienced in, even though they seem to think they've got all the answers. So I hate to say it, if you support Trump, for example, and sorry, Paul, if you support Trump, I really don't know your opinions there. You need to read this book. This will show why Trump is a complete buffoon, and why the adherence to the religion, the dangerous death cult known as government, is a dangerous religion, and we need to come to a firm understanding why that is so. And we need to understand further things that many truthers are still trapped in. Organized religion is one, and sorry if that offends people who follow Christianity or any other Abrahamic religion or other types of religion. Why? Because it's based in mind control. It's designed to curtail your understanding of spiritual themes to keep you controllable. That's it in a nutshell. Me and Nathan explain this in massive detail, so stay tuned if you want to know more.
Good point. Oh, by the way, David, mate, you'll put the comments in, and it's only us that can see it. If you want the whole chat to see your comment, you need to open another screen and go into sort of chat on a separate. I hope that makes sense.
Within YouTube or.
Yeah, I'm happy for you to read it out, Eric. If you want to read it out, I just thought that's an interesting point.
That is a very interesting point. Can I just read this first point out, mate, and then I'll go on your one, all right? Sammy Guru, can I just call you Sam? In my opinion, the problem is the brainwashing of the sheeple about weapons. There's an interesting one for you, Steve. The first step in the right direction is the proliferation of weapons, but normies are afraid of the free market. What do you feel about that one?
Well, first and foremost, I used to teach the use of weapons in the army. I'm massively familiar with weapons and used them billions of times. So I'm an advocate for every man and woman in any nation having a weapon. Why? Because there's two fundamental rules written into the architecture of the universe. The first one to understand is the non-aggression principle, and quite simply speaking, that means don't hurt anybody, don't perform violence on other people. Why? Because performing violence upon another person is in breach of a right. It is a wrongdoing, so therefore it is an act of immorality. Secondly, the second rule to understand, written into architecture of creation, is the self-defense principle. That means if somebody is performing violence or harm upon you, you have a right in nature to defend yourself. You also have a right to defend your loved ones and any other person for that matter, if you want to get involved. That means, for example, if the scumbags of this world, my former workmates who are members of the armed forces, and I say scumbags simply because after 6 years of the world's biggest hoax, they're still choosing to ignore it. That makes you a complete evil scumbag. That's my friends included who I used to serve with, imbeciles. Also, the other scumbags are the coppers. Why? Because they are the biggest evil, twisted, money-making scumbags on the face of the planet. Even though several of my friends used to be coppers, and I used to work with coppers quite regularly. Scumbags, why? Because they are helping to us, aiding and abetting the deranged psychopaths who call themselves authority, who've perpetuated acts of. Do you know what? I'll not mention the word that rhymes with reason and begins with a T, because I'm not sure what the YouTube algorithm will say.
Yes, I know what you mean, and that's very kind of you. And
I suppose the one thing that comes from that, though, is that if we have weapons, then in theory there's always the incentive then to do harm, which then means you're in breach of the do no harm rule. If you
but look at
base
Switzerland.
on that.
Look at Switzerland. Everybody is armed, and every house has a rifle in them. But it's a different type. The Swiss army is very different to other armies because it's like a militia.
But does that not then mean that you potentially live in fear? Because if you, in an ideal world, what we would be is all peaceful and we'd all get on and we'd all be basically living like we should be in peace. So in that respect, weapons wouldn't be needed because everybody would know where they stand.
But the crime rate is very, very low because a criminal knows if they steal from anywhere and they can go on the run, they're probably they might be gunned down. I don't know. I'm talking out of ignorance now because I'm with Switzerland. I don't know. Steve would know more than
I would live in less fear if I had a machine gun. Simple as. Why? Because if the cops have got machine guns and the army have got machine guns, why have the citizens not got machine guns? I mean, I don't necessarily advocate for having weapons. I'm not saying, you need to get yourselves armed to the teeth. But what I do advocate is you have got a fundamental right written into nature to defend yourself. That doesn't mean just because you've got a gun, you're gonna like the cops have done or the ICE teams have done in the States, of just blinking riddled some woman driving a blinking car in the face. That doesn't mean that just because you've got a gun you'll do that. I've carried a gun for probably best part of 30 years, and I never just used to pull the trigger just randomly for no reason. I never had carried a gun and thought, I must go on a killing spree. So if you have a weapon of any, yes, you could use it for harm, just like you could use a hammer to cause harm, or you could use a hammer to construct something. Just because you've got a gun doesn't mean that you will then use it to cause violence. Only a person of low consciousness would do that, which is why I advocate for high consciousness.
It's the brain, but it's the brain and the personality behind the gun. It's an excuse to say that, it's, my God, guns are bad. No, if you create a good, educated, moral society, then the guns really don't matter. Then you have a decent person behind it, and hopefully then the gun will never have to be used. I mean, that's the
Look at Switzerland.
objective, is it not?
Look at Switzerland. You don't hear of anybody getting gunned down in Switzerland. There might be, I don't know. But apparently, and this is second-hand information, I could be wrong. If there's anybody that's lived in Switzerland, they can tell me. For school days, they handle weapons. They're taught how to shoot and at target practice. And the Swiss army is a kind of conscript army, but it's a militia army. So that from a certain age, I think there's a regular army, and then there's this conscript army up to the age of 50, and you have to go back every year or so, and it's like a sort of a family thing. It's a very strange idea they've got, and you go in. For example, if you've got hobbies, there's a bloke who's a pigeon fancier. So, and the Swiss actually do send messages via carrier pigeons still. That's part of their training. So this pigeon fancier, he was in the pigeon branch, and I'm sure, and he said, yes, he said, it's the only regiment where the lower ranks shit on the higher ranks and get away with it. And I thought that was quite a good one. And
we ought to start using pigeons, because it's got to be better than Royal Mail, because they're an absolute waste of space at the moment.
Yeah. But it's taken a week for a letter to get to me to do 20 miles. That's not bad, is it? A week. I mean, I think a bleeding pigeon could have walked it quicker. Now, David has just said, I'll just take this one off here. Now, he's just said this in the private chat. We should ask what Steve thinks. By the way, David is our guest. He's actually in the studio. Right. We should ask what Steve thinks of politicians ramping up things like fighting for or against Russia, when this generation of UK politicians are the most detached from the battlefield that have ever represented us. That's a very good point.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point. Yeah, I'll immediately answer that. What do I think of politicians? Every single politician on the face of the planet is a complete imbecile. They should be sacked. They should be given rehabilitation training in order to become functioning in society as moral human beings, which then they never will be. Why? Because they claim to have authority over others. That authority doesn't exist in nature. Therefore, they should not be listened to by anybody ever for the rest of time. The end. But in terms of the UK politicians, the ramping up of war in Russia, anybody who believes that this is legitimate is an imbecile. And sorry if that offends people. I used to be, and bearing in mind, I used to be a massively loyal soldier for many, many years. I even used to recruit people into the forces. I don't know what the word to unrecruit somebody is, but I would completely denounce anybody from wanting to join any military. Why? Because it's all to do with funding the banking cartel. It's not to fight for your country. If you think that, you're a complete buffoon. Anybody who thinks it's about king and country is a complete lunatic. As I was. I used to be a lunatic. Sorry.
No, you're not. You're not a lunatic. It's all shall we say, life is a learning process, and we can learn wisdom from the learning process. And the person that's never made a mistake has never made any bleeding thing. So, quite honestly, sometimes the people that's made the most mistakes and they get on the right road very quick because they've made mistakes. So, And you're admitting it. I mean, I've made millions of bleeding mistakes. I mean, we've all made mistakes. Now, Town Crier, hello, mate. Thanks for coming back, Town Crier. That's much appreciated. Bill of Rights, 1688. You have the right to bear arms to defend yourself. This is where the American Constitution gets it. That's right. And I think there's a chap, was it Graham something or other? I can't remember his surname. Is it the English Constitution Party?
Yeah.
So that's very interesting.
That's an
Thanks for adding
interesting
that.
point. Can I add to that? I mean, that's an
Certainly.
interesting point, but I mean, it's important to realize as well that the American Constitution or the Bill of Rights is just a bastardization on natural law. It's just a misrepresentation of natural law that still gives power and authority to a ruling class of parasites who claim to have authority over others. There's no such thing as holding authority over others. All men and women were created equal in the eyes of nature. There's no such thing as a hierarchy, not in the human kingdom. In the animal kingdom, there is a hierarchy. Why? Because a shark will eat a fish and a fish will eat plankton. In the human kingdom, we are born equal. That means nobody has the right to rule. That includes royal family, the Rothschilds, the banking aristocracy, the Black Venetians.
Rockefellers.
Yeah, none of these families and none of these forms of government, they do not hold any authority. It's an illusion.
Now, the Thai crier said it was Graham Moore. Thanks, mate. And on that note, I try and prove on this show that people with differences of opinions can have a gentlemanly or lady disagreement politely on air, and so that at the end of the show, people can say, that person had a good point, and that person had a good point. And we've proved that we can do it, and it has been done with, well, yourself, Paul, with the debate about round Earth and flat Earth, and I think that went bloody brilliantly. So if anybody wants to come on and defend Trump or anything like that, as long as people are very, very polite and don't start shouting and hollering over each other, I'll be neutral. And we'll just sort of, because we was going to do one, I'm trying to get an atheist on with a very highly religious person, which is going to be very interesting. I'm also, there's other things, because I want people to learn from both sides. Because I get fed up with these, when you go onto YouTube, you go, shouting or bashing it. No, we don't need that. We're gentlemen. There's ladies and gentlemen. We act in a positive way. And I think we can put our points of view over without getting heated and bashing our heads against the wall. So, as I say, anybody wants to...
I think that's how it works well on your radio show anyway, to be honest. I think
Many thanks.
I think we all have a debate and have a chinwag, and we're all mates at the end of it, don't we?
Well, that's a good thing. We don't fall out. We're all mates.
I mean, I didn't take offence to Nathan, but his voodoo doll's due to arrive this week.
Actually, I felt sorry for you, because what I do, I back the person that is shall we say, seems to be the underdog. So that way, I try and even it out a little bit, But if anybody, as I say, knows anything about the Swiss Army, say. I mean, I'm going on second-hand information. Now, Mark Anthony said, if voting made any difference, they wouldn't let us do it. And that was a quote by Mark Twain. Yeah, that's right. They wouldn't let us do it. Now, what we got here? Now, David, was he wanting me to mention now? Wider world. Yes, anything you want to mention, mate? I think I've missed some of your comments. So, David's still in the studio.
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm here. Can you hear me? It's just that
certainly.
It's on the hour, so I don't know whether you're doing something else. But I'll just say this, and it's a bit wacky, but it's based on this whole idea that Steve brought up, and we discussed actually, I think when Nathan as well was on last time, which is the whole idea of the Christian idea of do as you would be done by. The same thing as sort of natural law or cosmic law, which is more my thing to do, and it's to do with extraterrestrials. But what's interesting is there's a case, and it's all to do with Italy from the 1950s. It's called the Friendship Case, right? The Friendship Case, and it's to do with how an extraterrestrial group interacted in Italy, and my God, what an amazing story! You can find there's 2 books on it, and also if you go on YouTube, you'll find a stunning documentary on it called the Friendship Case, right? But the group that came along, they turned up and they discussed with human beings in Italy in the 50s and 60s. And it's interesting based on what Steve sort of said about this whole idea of cosmic law or natural law and things. But this group, and I thought this was amazing when I read it. I read this book, and basically they were called the W56s. You can look them up online if you're that way inclined. But essentially, their role as around the universe was their goal was, I just think, see this as a sort of metaphor or an idea about, well, how could we operate? And in a way that might seem a bit zany with what I'm about to say, but they went round the solar system, the universe, coming to Earth, and essentially their goal was to cause as little as harm as possible. So should they then have met, let's say, another alien group or come to clash with, I don't know, humans, I don't know what, but they would prefer, instead of stepping on an ant or having a clash with another ET group, they prefer to destroy themselves first. And I thought that was fascinating. So in other words, they would terminate themselves first, right? Which sounds wacky to us, but maybe they've got another way of regenerating themselves, Star Trek wise, I don't know. But I just thought on the level of sort of karma or human decency, I thought that was fantastic that they would never enter a clash or a battle. Their goal was always to demonstrate that instead of doing that, instead of a clash with someone else, it's that Buddhist, the Buddhist idea of what, oh God, we don't want to tread on an ant. You've all heard that one. That they then essentially would back down and they'd rather terminate themselves first. And I thought, my God, that sounds absolutely way out and wacky, but I thought it was fascinating when I read this book. And again, the friendship case, go online, type it in, an astonishing case. Not as wacky as I'm making it sound there. There's whole other stuff to do with the mafia in Italy and other things. But yeah, the friendship case. And so they'd
And
rather terminate themselves than actually cause problems with other races, beings, or interactions.
But you're due on soon, Dave, coming on the show. Do you want to bring that one up on when you next come on the show? I don't know. Have you booked a I can't remember if you booked a slot.
No, I've got your fantastic Eric spreadsheet. I will fill it in. But yeah, I'd love to come on and take it the next stage on. We did seances and Helen Duncan and spiritualism. I'd really like to move it on to stuff to do with contact and a bit of stuff that's happened personally to me, and I think it'll be a fascinating show. So yeah, I'm happy. I will fill that in, and I'll send you.
So please fill it in. Back. Yeah, it might be. It's out of date as soon as it's printed, so there might be a few that might be booked that are not shown on your copy.
Well, but, Eric, I'm looking forward to Donald Jeffries. I'm so looking forward to him.
He's next week. Donald Jeffries.
Can't wait. He's a great
American
guy.
Yes.
Yep.
And I think he's quite famous in the States. So there we go.
Oh, it's a JFK guru.
Really? We ought to get him on with John Heyman.
Fantastic. Long-term researcher of JFK. Yeah.
Now, Mark Anthony said voting is not an act of political freedom. It is an act of political conformity. Those who refuse to vote are not expressing silence. They are screaming at politicians, "You do not represent me." I agree with you there, Mark.
Yeah, so do I. Can I mention, I used to be, when I was in the army, I was an anarchist in the army. The word anarchy, by the way, means no rulers. And even though that's a bit, you think, well, that's a touch ironic. You're exactly right. You cannot be an anarchist and work in the army at the same time. It just doesn't work like that. But in my head, I understood from a certain time, when I realised that all wars were Mickey Mouse made up in order to profit the banking cartel, I realised that all governments are also corrupt and therefore should not be followed. So anarchy means no rulers. If we want a peaceful society that's capable of coexisting without violence, anarchy is the way to do that, as long as society gets morally educated.
I agree with you there.
Gents, I'm going to need to drop off if that's okay. I'm going to join the audience now, if that's all right.
Is it something? I knew it's the wrong.
That's the Lynx effect.
Yes.
I can smell it from here.
I think it's your I think it's your Brussels sprouts and Guinness effect, actually. Sorry about that. But
anyway, a good Welsh accent, that.
Anyway, yeah, do exactly what you want to do. That's you're always welcome on the show, mate. So
I've been in the audience as well. I've seen them.
Okay, see you.
Nice talking to you, mate.
Thanks, mate. I remember David Cameron warmongering Russia 15 years ago. This is Stephen Truthseeker. So all this war talk has been in the plan a long time. Plan long ago. That's right. Yes, but I'm not sure. I think they're keeping us in a state of fear all the time. That's what they're up to. Just fear all the time. Now, as we've reached this crossroads, do you want to carry on the way we go, or do you want to show us your survival gear? Up to you, Steve. How do
Do
you
you
feel?
know? Do you know what? I wouldn't mind answering some of the questions that are
Certainly.
coming up while we're in the frame of mind, and then if
Yeah.
that
Okay.
kind of peters out, we can go into some of the survival based
Okay.
stuff. Which
Because you booked future shows. You're on a lot of future shows, so.
oh well, fair enough. We're probably not going to miss anything. I mean, I must admit, as long as nobody's got a problem with this and nobody's being massively offended by. I'm not the politest of guys. You might have known.
You're very polite. What are you talking about?
I try
We
to be
have on this
reasonable.
show ladies and we have gentlemen, and we've actually put the gauntlet down. If somebody would like to politely speak on air, backing Donald Trump, we're not going to savage them or anything like that. We'll let them have their, we'll let them have their say, and then we'll take the piss out of them. But no,
I'm aware anyway that many of the things that we're talking about are, you could say, I don't know if controversial is the right word, but definitely some people could be offended. Well, let's face it, anybody who gets the worldview kind of argued against with is likely to feel offended. I mean, it's not I try not to mention opinions. I try to keep it on the level with truth and principle based on fact. And not express opinions. If I was to express opinions, I'd probably immediately get chucked off YouTube because.
Well, I got chucked off several times from YouTube. I've had 20 videos banned. So, but Cool Creeper says, if you can do no harm to any living thing, does that mean we shouldn't be killing animals? Does Steve pay council tax, as he's saying he doesn't support government?
This is definitely there's been some great questions. I'm going to say this is the best question of the night. So
get your teeth into this one, mate.
Right. So I've mentioned offending people. So I'm going to say this will offend people. Why? Because this might contradict a lot of people's understanding. Seriously, right? I mentioned the difference between right and wrong. And remember, this isn't my
Can you excuse me just
opinion.
2 seconds?
Of course. Should I keep talking?
Yeah, carry on.
All right.
It's okay.
So earlier I mentioned the difference between right and wrong. And I expressed, this isn't my opinion. This isn't my understanding. This is objective fact. So the difference between right and wrong is do no harm to any other living being. That includes animals. So if we do harm to a living being, which includes pigs, sheep, goats, cows, ducks, chickens, this is an act of immorality. You can't kill something and be moral. There's no way you can kill any other creature and claim it was an act of morality. You can claim that killing an animal is an act of survival. Well, I haven't eaten meat for about a decade, and strangely enough, I haven't starved to death. So therefore, you can live a life healthily. I still run ultra marathons. I'm in my mid-50s. I still run marathons and ultra marathons. Not eating meat has not had any detrimental effect on my nutritional health and well-being. Therefore, don't get me wrong, I've eaten meat in the past before. And so I'm trying to be sensitive here because I used to be a carnivore myself. In fact, when I was a carnivore, I even used to have debates with people who were vegan and vegetarian, telling them that they were absurd in their understanding. However, it turns out I was wrong in my understanding because I didn't understand the nature of morality. So when I understood the objective difference between right and wrong, I stopped eating meat simply because it was an act of wrongdoing, and you can't claim to be moral and continue to do immoral actions. And on top of that, I would say and this is a thing which, again, you're going to have to bear with me on this. If we continue to do something, even though the face of truth and principle tells us that this is not necessary, so it's not necessary to eat meat because people survive without a meat diet. Therefore, we can, as human beings, survive without meat in our diet and live healthily. Therefore, in order to continue to eat a carnivore diet, it has to be a religious belief based on superstition. So therefore, meat eating, and again, if people are offended by this, I do apologize, but this is just the nature of the truth and principle, not my opinion. If we continue to eat meat, we're doing so because we have a religious belief. Religious beliefs are what holds us back from understanding morality and adhering to morality. And it is the lack of morality in society which is the root cause of all problems that we face. I don't know if that answers that question. Plus, I don't pay council tax. Why? Because theft is immoral. All tax is theft. All forms of tax paying is immoral. I try not to participate in immoral actions, which paying tax is one of them. So the government can go and stuff themselves.
That's interesting. Now, Mark Anthony, that's a fantastic answer. Mark Anthony says, Eric, I thought you had a touch of the Welshies the way you shot out of your chair. No, actually, it's not the Welshies, because you know what the Welshies are, don't you? You know what the Welshies are?
Yeah. I already mentioned it yesterday.
Yes, diarrhea. No, it's actually the doily carts.
Not familiar with that one.
Well, the doily carts. Well, what does it rhyme with?
Oh, yeah.
See, it's a bit of Cockney rhyming slang there. You see, so people go out for a doily cart now. Enviro. Actually, when you're in the army, was there any vegetarians in the army?
Yeah. I mean, I was. Yeah.
But I mean, other blokes, squaddies, and also, what about if you had to touch the doily carts when you're in operation? Because you get the old stomach there and just creep up on the enemy.
We didn't run out. If I had the doily carts, we didn't run out of the studio.
Now, as I say, I'm a spineless bleeding southerner, you see. Now, I tried the vegan route. This is Endro. This is Paul. Route for 5 years, and I was virtually on death's door. But since reverting back to eating meat and eggs, etc., I've never felt better. I think it's what suits the individual. And this is the thing is, we all sort of say, apparently there's 7 food groups in the world. And there's some, I mean, for example, there's some African and I think Chinese can't actually drink milk. Their stomachs are not designed for it. And we're not really designed to eat dairy. Now, I mean, do you eat, I guess you don't eat fish, do you, Steve?
No.
What about eggs?
I do. I mean, I'll eat limited dairy stuff, but I do still eat. I'm not a vegan, incidentally, but I will. I do limit my kind of consumption of dairy products. But all I'm suggesting, not suggesting, all I'm stating here is morality. So natural law is about a deep understanding of morality, and if we only understand morality but we don't do anything about it in our actions, then really all we're doing is acting in ignorance. And when we act in ignorance, chaos is brought into the world, and we end up with the way things are just now. Many of the problems that we're facing in society now are due to ignorance over morality and limited action in adherent to moral principles. So I'm not saying if people became vegan, the world would change overnight. I'm not saying that. I'm not even suggesting that. What I'm saying is this is how morality works. If we understand morality, it's in our best interests as a society to adhere to moral principles. And when we do, when there's more wide scale adaptation towards moral principles, then there will be less chaos and violence in the world. And I mean, this might be hard if people are listening to this for the first time and have never heard much about natural law or the occult. They might struggle with some of the things I'm saying.
That's right. And you're on Telegram. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over them.
No,
you're on
Telegram.
You're on Telegram. You've got the Occult Academy. And there's a fantastic Telegram channel, Fuck 'em All Radio. See, all details down below. Again, not in my crutch. They're down in the description. Now, Dave, mate, you got a question for Steve?
Yeah, and just because from his background, I'm interested. So just going sort of back to the council tax, but more about authority generally. So I mean, we can all be rebels and go, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Council tax and stuff. But I've had some dodgy times in my life. I've been homeless in London and
Hmm.
all sorts of stuff. And then of course I had bailiffs turn up. I was living in Nottingham and had bailiffs turn up and literally take my microwave away because I couldn't pay my council tax. So what does Steve think? How should we approach things that when it comes to a knock on your front door, how it's all well being anti this and we all like to stand up for these things, and we should, right? So what happens when the authorities knock on your door and it comes that close to something like bailiffs coming to take your shit away?
All right, that's another excellent point, and I'm going to address this, fairly short, simply because when you say authorities, so when we say bailiffs and any other court-appointed person, or the police for that matter, we call them authority, but they have no lawful authority in nature. So there's no authority granted to any other human being above one another. When we realize this as a human species, that all men are created equal, therefore the police, government, bailiffs, and any other representative of man's illusionary false authority does not exist. It is an illusion based on mind control. Now, this probably isn't the answer you're looking for, because if a bailiff comes and knocks on somebody's door tomorrow, the fact that you think, oh well, their authority doesn't exist in nature, they do not hold any rightful authority over us.
Yeah, we can't. It's hard to educate them, isn't it? How do you educate a bailiff or a copper, right?
Well, you can't simply because I've tried for years. I tried long before COVID to wake up the army, my army colleagues, and I hate to say it, many of them listened and took interest, but none of them adopted anything I had to say. Why? Because
Sure.
I didn't offer them a financial reward for knowing the truth.
Good point. Yeah.
The only thing that will
Point.
change is if there's a change in consciousness. So people have to adapt a conscience and care about principle and truth above caring about what an aggressive bunch of psychopathic ruling elite and who they appoint to do their dirty work for them do to us. So the police, I do not have any care whatsoever for the police because they're immoral, they are based in violence, and their whole system of law is based on illusion. Therefore, none of what they do exists in truth and principle. And until society grasps that by having an understanding morality, we are always going to be persecuted by all these scumbags like bailiffs. Now, to offer a sort of simple solution, do not answer the door to these people, because once you engage in any form of conversation, negotiation, or joinder, you are then entering into their jurisdiction, which is all based on illegitimate Saturnian laws of the Black Cube, and we need to stay out of that system. The best thing we can do is educate the truth movement, educate ourselves, and educate wider society. And
I agree with you, Steve.
Say again?
So what's that, mate? Can you say?
No, I was just saying. Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, and I don't. In my case, the roommate I was living with, he opened the bloody door. I was so angry with him afterwards. They took away my TV, microwave, laptop. This is all for council tax, non-payment. But yeah, that's it. So don't open the door or tell them to F off and put the door in the face. I mean, that's the best thing with bailiffs, because actually they can't do a lot more. They're very limited with regard to actually breaking into domestic premises compared to commercial, from what I understand. I might be out of date. This is years ago, but
yeah. Anyway. I'm not saying they can't do all of these things. I mean, if the police come to your door and they've got a warrant and they need to execute a warrant and they break down your door and this, that, and the other, there's tons of things that their maritime law will allow them to do because they believe that they've got rightful authority. We need to have a society that understands that this belief is based on illusion, and it's all of maritime law is based on immorality.
Are you saying maritime law is still involved when police come to our door today? Is that still maritime law, is it?
the whole system of man's law is, well, not just maritime law. There's two types of law. This is probably the best way to understand it. There's two types of law. There's God's law, cosmic law, um, um, karmic law, or natural law. It's all the same thing.
Yep.
Then there's forms of law which is invented by man. So that might be things like maritime law. There's only one legitimate law, that's natural law. Everything else is illegitimate. Everything else is illegitimate. That includes everything that the court does. That includes common law. That includes maritime law. It's all based on the whim of arbitrators of inauthentic laws, which are designed to rob people of their.
All right. 2 seconds. So are you saying there's no leeway or in between common law, cosmic law, which we've discussed, and then the fringe around the flag and maritime? Are you saying that the wholesale maritime law is imposed on us, and so there's no in between that and common law? Is that the situation?
You need to get common law out your head. And I'm saying this with respect. Common law needs to be forgotten.
This is not my area. I don't know. I don't know this area.
I'm not an expert on common law simply because I don't even regard it as having any justification. It has no legitimacy in nature. There's only one form of law that has credibility, and that is natural law, which is what I teach. I teach natural law. Every other form of law is bunk, designed to profiteer and extort from other people. That's it. All forms of law. That's maritime law.
Also, there's assumed right of access. So, for example, TV licensing people, you withdraw their assumed right of access and they won't knock on your door. And I believe it's the same, but with the bailiffs. Now, Blu-ray 144. So, trespass notice on the door is really important. PACE, PACE officer's website. Now, this brings me onto something. I actually do believe that we need the equivalent of what were Minutemen. Now, Minutemen, this was, I think, was it the American Revolution?
Yeah.
Where a man could be called on and he'd be ready in a minute. And I think we need PACE officers to protect us from the government thugs, where we do not, we calm a situation down. So if there's 10 government thugs, we have 20 of our peace officers. If there's 20 of them, there's 40 of ours. So if there's an old lady that's about to be evicted, she phones this number and the Minutemen come along.
Yeah.
Now there's a chap who was I think he's still a Hell's Angel. I think I think you've seen him still.
Yeah. Andy, I think he's called.
Andy. And he said they're like a modern police force. He said if a woman thinks she's going to get raped or if a child is in danger, they phone the local one up, and their presence alone will make someone think twice. They're very intimidating type people, but very kind and nice blokes. Bloody great geezers, you know. You wouldn't argue with them. Tattoos all over, you know. And
so I massively agree with that. Minutemen and I know America in particular. I mean that you could say their Minuteman population societies have increased massively, and they are massively tooled up. And when I say tooled up, I'm on about the pointy things with the pointy sticks that go bang. Yeah, massively tooled up, well trained, well organized, well equipped.
And polite. They said, it aids politeness? Those type of things to aids politeness. In Texas, people are not impolite to each other. Hello.
But I don't advocate for violence. By the way, I don't. As I've already mentioned, I adhere to and uphold the non-aggression principle, but I balance that with the self-defense principle. So when let's just say, theoretically, if a government is acting tyrannically, such as the British government, and the police force for advocating for the tyrannical measures, like the Gestapo did, then citizens are morally duty bound, and I'm not about law or man's law. I'm on about moral law. The laws written into nature. You have a moral duty to defend yourself from tyrants. that because tyrants have got, just because they seem to wield authority doesn't mean that they actually hold any authority. We've already established that authority doesn't exist. It's only it's only a diseased mind that can hold another individual in a form of authority over one another.
That's right.
So therefore, why are we tolerating? Why is society tolerating tyrannical measures?
And a big thing, police know very little about the law. Seriously, they don't know much about law. They're very dumb on law. They're only told the minimal of what they need to know. And Contact Times said, "We should talk. You should talk to me, Stephen, because I don't know what he's saying here. TI or T1 technology is an area I've been involved with for over a decade." I don't know what is T1 technology. I haven't the foggiest idea.
It might be for Stephen Truthseeker. Is that, or is that for me? I'm not sure. Oh, targeted individuals.
Targeted individuals.
Is that what he's talking about? Yeah. I think that might be for Stephen Truthseeker.
Now the thing is, you know that chap, George Galloway, the MP. Now I don't know whether you know this, but apparently he and his wife, they were coming back from Moscow, and they were apprehended at Heathrow Airport with blokes with big pointy sticks that go bang bang, and it really put the 2 bob bits up them. 2 bob bits, yeah. And he said, and I quote, as I say, this is what I've interpreted. Please look up George Galloway. You say to check this out because I don't want to misquote him. But what I heard him say, that he is now keeps out of the country because he knows what happened to that. Who was that arms inspector that got murdered? I can't think of his name. Someone in chat remember. 15, 20 years ago. What's his name now? He was the bloke who inspected weapons.
Is that the one who died?
Yeah, it's found hung in a very strange situation.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
George Galloway said he's investigated and found out what happened to him. And he said that's why he's keeping out of the country.
Was it David Kelly?
That's the one. Thanks, mate. Yeah, David Kelly.
That was a bit bizarre, wasn't it?
Well, he's investigated it, apparently, George Galloway, and he said that's the reason why he's keeping out of the country. And he was in Hong Kong the other day, and I think that his wife comes from some other country, which allows him, I suppose, to keep out of this country as he's married to her, you know. Now, Stephen Truthseeker said, I had Britain's worst landlord. I hadn't paid rent in 16 months, but I got enough of the place. Rats, mice, damp, leaks, mould, bare floorboards, peeling wallpaper, broken boilers, etc. But I had enough of the place. Sorry, I think that should read. Yes, yes. That's Horrendous Getful. That's right. Yeah, it is Dr. David Kelly. That's right. And if you look up George Galloway, I mean, all right, he's an MP, or I think he still is. It's quite interesting that he's not coming back to this country. He's keeping out of this country whilst Keir Starmer's here. Very, very interesting, you know.
Yeah.
Hang on. Contact Time says an ex-NASA guy called Richard Lighthouse is the what? Oh, best up-to-date science type on tech stuff. So there we go.
Okay.
And Barefoot Foreigner said, I never realised that social services were like vampires. Yes, they are. You have to invite them in over the threshold. You have to give them power over you and your kids. What I've heard about social services. Ooh.
Yeah. The whole, I mean, everybody's aware of the beast system. What we've got to realize is, you know, what is interpreted in the beast as the beast system in biblical scripture is essentially what we are living in modern society. And who's ahead of the beast? Well, you've got the establishments and the organizations that advocate for immorality, which is things like institutions such as government. They're bully boy gangsters, Freemasons known as the cops, the police, and they've also got the soul dead individuals who do their killing, which was my former job, to be a murderer for the state as a soul dead individual. Soul dead, why? Because you've got no soul, because you've You've completely blanked any aspect of morality out of your existence, which is why I had a rather rude wake-up call, and had to do an awful lot of soul searching and research to come to the understanding I've now got, because I was the most brainwashed individual out of anybody in the truth movement. I was probably more brainwashed than anybody else.
I wouldn't say that, Steve, because
I
I'll be
would.
straight with you. Yeah, but hang on a moment, mate. If you work 9 till 5, you become soulless. Look what happened to me.
Right.
You become a mercenary for money. I became freelance, and all I was doing is chasing Dally Dollar. And you're like a dog chasing its tail, because you're frightened all the time that there won't be another contract coming along. So you work and work and work and work and work and work, and you don't have holidays, you don't have breaks. So that is, I think their whole system is soulless, and this is why this AI it can be good or it can be bad. Now, if it's for the good, it will allow us to do what we are destined to do, what we've got a flair for. And what I mean by that, some people are excellent. Like, for example, yourself, you've got skills, survival skills. I haven't got those skills. But we've all got different skills that each of us can't do, and some that can do. I mean, you look at some of the beautiful, well, you've only got to look at these churches and cathedrals of beautiful artwork. Wouldn't it be nice if we could get craftsmen and have guilds, and AI does all the crap work, and that releases humans to do the most beautiful architecture? That's right, I'm living in bleeding cloud cuckoo land now, but you know what I mean. But wouldn't it be nice to walk down the road and see houses all sort of, wow, super duper, Now, Baby with a Laser said, Stephen Trueseeker, you had floorboards. You were lucky. We had to wear stilts to pretend that there was an upstairs. Had it upside. We never got rat shit in our shoes. Stop out loud.
Yeah, nice.
No, that's nothing. We lived at the bottom of the river and had to wake us up before we went to sleep in case we drowned. And that was the old one, wasn't it? That was now. Nathan Barefoot Foreigner said, Nathan and I were talking about the lack of younger men in our movement is largely because they are so knackered after grafting constantly. You've got a very good point there. Yes.
I mean, I was caught up in that rat race myself. I totally get it. Now, well, here's another thing. Chasing money. Money's a religion. It's a religious belief that we need to kind of... It's a hard one because everybody needs money to get by in life, but I've lost complete interest in money. I'll still need it I still need to feed myself. I still need to pay some bills, even though I don't pay some of the
not the compulsory ones. I mean, I believe in paying bills that are not compulsory, that I decide to have.
Yeah. I don't believe in funding the beast system, so therefore it's against my moral principles. And I mean, I'm not advocating other people do this. And if you do pay council tax, for example, then God's going to look unfavorably upon you. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it's against my principles to fund the beast system with theft. So therefore, I'm not going to help fund this system.
The thing is, the council tax is one of the greatest protection rackets there is, because when you look at a protection racket, it's basically paying gangsters who threaten you if you don't pay them money to do absolutely sod all for you. And that's exactly what the council does. And they'll threaten you if you don't pay them money, which is theft.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked out, there's 55 houses around where I live, and I calculated it out that if we all chipped in not that much money, we could have roads swept and rubbish collection on a day we want. And if the people we pay to clear our rubbish don't do it, you get for someone that does. And that's it. Yeah. And it'd be far more efficient and much better. And if you wanted, you could have a security bloke walking around. Yeah. Far better than the police force.
Or we could
see if Granny's all right. You know,
instead of working 40 hours a week for the man to fund the beast system, we could, we could be more community spirited and work for ourselves. There's a whole manner of things that can be done, and I'm not trying to provide answers and solutions here. I'm only, my sort of main aim, you could say, is to give a much broader understanding of morality and how it fits in the world by understanding the principles of natural law and the occult. I mean, can I actually quote what natural law is? And I'm going to use my own. There is other definitions which might be more, appreciated by different understandings. But I use the expression, actually, the boundary conditions of how the world functions is down to natural law. Natural law is not my invention or opinion. This is something written into nature. All right. And I'm not saying it's easy to understand. It took me a long, long time to understand how this works and what it is. But what is it? It's the governing dynamics that set the conditions that we experience, formulated upon the consequences of our collective behaviors. So what that means is how we act in the world, not just how we think or how we feel, but how we act. In other words, the things that we do has consequence. This is written into nature. It's known as the law of cause and effect. So if we do something, there will be an effect. No matter what we do, there's always an effect. So if we engage ourselves in immoral actions, and as an example, and this is just an example, I'm not saying this is the best example or the biggest, but if we fund government who we already have established are acting tyrannically, and they perpetuate acts of war, they terrorize individuals by fear and duress, and they manipulate by using propaganda to lie about certain things, such as health interventions, which we all know is a complete bogus, made-up crock of horse manure. If government are doing that, and we are funding government and advocating government, our actions have consequence in the world. Well, we just have to look around to see what the consequences of our actions are. And as an example,
you got a good point.
Well, can I just elaborate on that? And I'll be quite brief with it. But if moral behaviors formulate harmony, which enables freedom, immoral behaviors, so things like tax funding immoral institutions who are based in Satanism, such as the government, immoral behaviors formulate chaos, which destroys freedom. So if the freedom movement want to be free and they're still advocating for people like Donald Trump and voting and paying tax, well, eventually they're not going to get that freedom that they keep harping on about.
Good point. Good point. I mean, Hachi has said the demasculation of us warriors is a big conversation. God bless you all. And but I think can we look back in history? And I'm thinking, is there any times where the people did overpower the ruling elite? And I can think of off the top of my head one time, and that is what we've been told about the end of the First World War. Because the end of the First World War, which I've kept very quiet about, is because the French army didn't desert; they mutinied en masse, and the German Navy mutinied en masse. And that's what brought the end of the First World War. The French army did not obey orders, and the French, what could they do? And it first started with them making bleating noises as they marched past the senior ranks on the way to the front. Like this. And then it got bigger. Now, there was a show, was it called The Mutiny? Was it The Monocled Mutineer? And the British Army did in the higher ranks in a very small way, but it was the French army that mutinied a huge amount.
Good for them.
And we need a sort of mutiny, I think, in this country, where we say to people like farmers, they're going to have to pay inheritance tax. Try getting it, mate. Try getting it. Ain't going to get it. This is our land. I mean, let's face it, who owned the land before us? Why should the council put a claim on your land and take your home, which they have got no right to do? And things like that. So I actually think that, I do think we need a sort of a mass mutiny. Now, maybe Keir Starmer is a blessing in disguise, because look what he's doing. He's turning people, and he's really making people think. And Barefoot Foreigner says, I've met lots of truly amazing male and female warriors, but it's hard to keep them motivated and stop them becoming black-pilled, Eric. Your humour, and Steve, your role modelling of true bravery. Isn't that kind?
Thanks, Holly.
That's great, Holly. Well, I think we got to laugh. You see, we've got a weapon. We got to put a joke down the old breech, wedge it down low like the other things, and fire it in the direction of the elite, and just keep firing jokes at them and laughing and laughing and laughing at them. And instead of going on a mass march saying, please, sir, can you not put the chains on? Because to me, protest marches, all that is doing is pleading with the slave owners to be a little bit more lenient.
Yeah.
No, we go down there and we laugh at them and say, just try. And I mean, this food cooperative, well, I won't call it cooperative, this food hub that's the Bowler Hat Farmer is running is brilliant, because you're finding out where you can get proper food. And I mean, I'm talking proper. I mean, when you look at the vegetables that you get from the supermarkets, they're tasteless shit most of the time. I mean, do you find that, Steve? Absolute tasteless shit. And Mark last night, mate, said something very interesting. Did you know that? And this is the statistic: 70% of Russians grow their own food. 70%. This is
the way it should be.
That's why we should be. Yeah.
Stop working for the man funding the beast system.
Yes.
And I mean, really, you mentioned, and I don't think you used the word revolution. I forget what you said, but there has to be a massive shift in our understanding in order for a massive shift in the way we perform in the world.
Yes.
I mean, simply, somebody's mentioned about manifestation. The way the world will change is it has to start in the mind. Then that mindset has to be driven by emotions to perform actions. It's known as the trivium. And this is another occult concept. Reality is formulated by the trivium. So reality is based in actions, and actions are driven first by thought and driven by emotion. And until we have the right understanding, because we've realized what our rights are, so we also realize what morality means, because we know the difference between objective right and wrong. We also understand principles based in truth, such as natural law, not man's law, not the bullshit that they try to feed us that the police enforce by using violence and coercion. So we're simply obeying a system that is based in violence, that's perpetuated by a death cult who have got no compunction to kill millions of innocent people. I'll say no more on that, because I don't want to frighten off the nerds behind the algorithm on YouTube.
That's right. The old Claxons.
Yeah.
But mutiny. This is the word we should have. Mutiny.
Yeah.
Mutiny.
And mutiny.
That's it. A complete mutiny. I mean, look at Mutiny on the Bounty. That's a perfect example. The blokes were pissed off for going around Cape Horn, because Cape Horn, I think, was it Cape Horn? That one where it's the most really awful. And in a sailing ship, that's right. You get more than a 2 bob bits on there. It's the survival rate. So they said, sod this, we might as well go back to Tahiti, get the old glamorous women, and bugger off somewhere else. And I look at it from a logical point of view, you can't really blame the mutineers, can you, really?
Yeah, I know. Well, many people I'm just going to, broad spectrum here. Many people in the truth movement have already mutinied from their previous understanding when it came to do you remember the Remember that thing? Many
Yes.
people abstained from that because they suspected or found out or instinctively knew something was wrong. So what they've done is they've thought, then they've acted on emotion by stopping and preventing something from happening to themselves. Now that's the trivium in motion. That is essentially what the trivium does. This is how reality is formulated. When more people, and somebody's mentioned about when more people wake up, however, it's really hard to wake people up. I massively agree. Massively agree. But when more people understand that nobody has any right above them, nobody has got authority above anybody else because we're all born equal, and we follow principles such as the golden rule, which many religions will teach about act or treat others as you would like to be treated yourselves. That's a very simple truth that you could teach a 3-year-old to understand that one. When society adopt truth and principle, instead of embarking upon lies and manipulation based upon violence and coercion, because this is all immoral, because when we become better morally educated by following principles of natural law, then the world can change because we've changed our thinking. It's driven by our heart because that's what our emotional center. It's head, heart, hands, and we put actions into the world based on our, the principles that we've adopted based on morality. Then the world will change for the better.
I agree with you, and I think we could. I mean, for example, this country was close to a revolution in the 1920s, early 1920s, very close. It was just tipping like this, and it was the secret services that infiltrated the war veterans movements, the people that came back from the trenches of the First World War, that stopped it. That's what stopped it, and it was all to do with social manipulation, social engineering, and this is what we've got to watch out at. We've got to be one step ahead of the social engineers. And unfortunately, what I found in the truth movement, they were about 20 steps behind the social engineers, and this is always a problem. But I think that the most important thing is to be positive. I mean, I guess that in your training, I mean, what gets me is when you see these hairy-ass politicians dressed up in their combat gear, holding a gun. I saw a picture of Starmer like that. I thought, how the hell does he have the? That is taking the piss out of men like yourself that are trained and highly trained. I wouldn't be a politician, but if I was, I wouldn't have the audacity to do that. This wouldn't have the audacity, because to me, you're taking the piss. And when you look at who gets into these senior positions, they've got to be demonic psychopaths. You couldn't, a normal person. I mean, what normal person will want to run this country? You've got to be a demonic psychopath, because each one, things have got worse and worse and worse, and not better and better and better. I mean, what do we pay tax for? It's not tax, it's theft. Because if the taxes went to us, we'd be living in heaven. It would be an absolute utopia, wouldn't it? If all that money came back to us, you'd have roads that are silky smooth. You would have trees and flowers everywhere. Everything would be, but it doesn't. It goes to places like Ukraine and shit places like that, and also the usury scam, which I'm on about a lot of the time,
So why do people feel the need to fund that is beyond me, or support it, or advocate?
I agree.
I mean,
it's bonkers.
It's a bit funny, I find, because I'm not. I mean, I might sound quite outspoken here. Everybody in the truth movement should be basically having this level of conversation, either with the members of the family, with members of the public, or with each other, about why are we listening to a bunch of fat bozos who, like Mr. Starmer. What a complete prat. A complete prat. I never listen to the news or politics. When you've mentioned names of politicians, I've got no idea who they are, because I've not followed any of that garbage for many, many years.
That's right. You got a good point. And also, have you noticed they're always in their suits? And look at me. My mummy is proud of me. I'm so important. Look how important I am. I'm having secret talks next week with some arsehole from some other country. Sorry, mate, I didn't mean to cut in, but that's what gets me. That sort of, I'm superior to you. And then when it's elections, I'm a man of the people, or I'm a woman of the people. What is these dickheads on about? Don't they have any embarrassment? But anyway, over to you. I'm terribly sorry I cut in on you.
I'm just reading through some of the comments that people have been putting. Do you know what? I am, and I'm not, aiming this on anything I've read at all. Again, I'm just going to show that book. Nathan Lucius wrote this. I'm sure many people have seen this a million times, and I've pointed this out plenty of times. This is a brilliant book that goes into quite high detail on all the psyops, all the illusions, all the inauthentic values that people are still following. And I hate to say it, people still in the truth community are still falling for lies and manipulation. They're still being steered by idiots who, fake awake commentators in truth circuits who don't understand the occult, people who reject the occult, people who still bang on about religion and I mean, I'm not having a big, massive go at any religion here. But what I am saying is when we're embroiled and in things that are preventing our uptake on uplifting our consciousness because we're too busy following fake awakers talking about, I don't know, the country with the small hats, or they're talking about the latest psyop that's happened, or they're talking about religion. What we're not doing is we're not learning things like this, which is about how government is the most dangerous superstition. It's all based on illusion. We're not talking about psyops. We're not talking about natural law. And if we're not talking about things like natural law, we're not going to change the world. It's a matter of science. The occult is a body of science. It's based on spiritual science, which you can't use mathematical formula. You can't just show somebody a pie chart. You have to understand it through logic and reason. That can only be done if we assimilate our brain to
change
take
of frequency.
It in.
Yeah, a change of frequency. Now, we're coming up to an advert. So are we all prepared for an advert? Yep. All right, mate? Yeah. All right for an advert? Right, here we go.
The most powerful action we can take is to connect to our local farmers and producers within our own communities. And you can do that at www.foodfindershub.org. foodfindershub.org.
Is that the cows and chickens getting slaughtered in the background?
But yeah, that's quite a nice little jingle, that is. So foodfindershub.org, there we go. And of course, brilliant. Steve, if you can get on there, I have a word with, I think you've spoken to Mark, haven't you, the Bull Rat farmer?
I've definitely. I actually heard some of yesterday's show. Although I was out of the house, so I did tune into some of it. I've definitely listened to him a few times. Well, I don't know if I've spoke to him.
Yeah, we'll try and get you on, and also I think Miles as well, Dr. Fleetwood, because people are looking survival, health, and we're going to have to, as I say, when these big officials come along, someone comes at your door, you just go. And that's it to them. I mean, what's happened to the two-finger salute and the raspberry? That we want to bring that back into common use again. People don't stick two fingers up anymore and blow a raspberry, do they? Then what's happened?
Can I stick a finger up to Donald Trump?
Certainly.
I know I've probably I might have insulted quite a lot of if there's people watching the show who are Trumpty numpties or think he's a good guy or whatever. Sorry.
He's a puppet. He's a puppet.
So what I am going to say is, I'll just mention a couple of things. Have a look at Google Earth, zoom in onto the White House, and then have a look why and ask yourself, why is there a giant inverted pentagram constructed in the city architecture of Washington, D.C., pointing directly to the White House, the lowest apex of a satanic pentagram pointing directly to the White House where Donald Trump works out of, next to a monument which is called the Washington Monument. Have a look on Google.
Phallic symbol.
Yeah,
right.
Phallic symbol. Ask what the word obelisk means. Well, I'll tell you, it means the shaft of Baal. I'm sure you can guess what the word shaft alludes to. And then have a look. In fact, do a little mathematical calculation. It's 555 feet tall. What's that in inches? Is it 6,660 inches? Yes, it is. And is it 55 foot wide? What's that in inches? It's 666 inches. Why, do you think that's a coincidence? And then ask yourself, or go on Google and just find out how tall Donald Trump's Trump Tower is. Is it 666 feet? Does he live on the 66th floor? You need to ask yourself these questions, and then if you're still a trumpeter after that, well, we're just getting started, because I could literally just absolutely talk about all the occult symbolism in his everything about him. Everything. I do presentations just on him. I could blow him out the water, and if anybody thinks he's a good guy, then sorry, you need to face up with reality. You've been mind controlled.
Yeah. To me, these people are just puppets. Yeah. And now Barefoot Foreigner says, can you ask Steve about his awakening journey that has led him to natural law? I've only heard bits, but it's truly fascinating. Truly the hero's journey.
Thanks, Holly. I'll be pretty short on this because it was a long journey. It took me a lot of years to come to. I mean, it stands to reason. It's like any other form of education. You don't get it overnight. You've got to do lots of research to come to things. But fundamentally, the biggest thing I would say is the three things that I always mention in. I've got a channel called the Occult Academy, as many people will know.
Telegram.
The three things I always advocate for is the three things that literally I would say was the most profound things to help me come into that sense of awakening. One of which I've showed quite a few times here. It's The Most Dangerous Superstition by Larken Rose. Larken Rose, incidentally, does daily podcasts, pretty much. So if you want to understand about why anarchy, let's face it, a lot of people have got a kind of skewed understanding of what anarchy is. If you want to understand why that is not chaos and violence, it's actually peace and coexistence without violence and chaos, because it means no rulers. And he does an excellent job of explaining that. The other two things, The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke, which is a 97-page booklet, which you can read in about an hour and a half. And it truly is mind-blowing. It's hard to buy. You'll never find a paper copy. Go online and just get a PDF copy so you can read it for free.
Can you say it again, mate? Because I'll write it down. So
it's called The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke. It's quite old. It's been going for, I don't know, 20 or 30 years now. That is a fundamentally superb book. Jeremy Locke says evil is the destruction of freedom. So he defines evil as the destruction of freedom. Well, that's what government do. They destroy freedom because they think they own you. Why? Because they're all satanically minded psychopaths. And the third thing, and probably the most relevant thing, which, I mean, if you think I talk some, hardcore things and I'm a bit strong, check out the work of Mark Passio, who is the #1 world's leading expert in natural law. He'd done an 8-hour documentary presentation called the Natural Law Seminar. That was probably the most profound thing I've ever seen in my life. I would say that was fundamental to me coming to my understanding. Bearing in mind, I was a, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir, for nearly for best part of 30 years. Had I not seen that documentary, I would probably still be like this. Well, I'll go to Ukraine. Yeah, I'll go and help Donald Trump in Greenland. I'll fund the Rothschilds.
Well, actually, Steve, I found the people. I mean, for example, David Attenborough, a person I can't stand, but he used to go out catching animals for zoos. And there's a film of him in the 50s catching animals. He now said that was totally wrong. He admits he did wrong. He didn't know at the time. Look at smokers. I've worked with smokers that have been smokers for years. I mean, I don't know if you've ever smoked at all. And I never smoked. And they are the most ardent anti-smokers when they give up smoking you could ever wish to find. I mean, I worked with a bloke that smoked since he was a teenager and he gave up smoking. Someone smoked, just puffed a bit of smoke in his, more so than a person who's never smoked. So I think we all go to the University of Life. Some of us choose to have qualifications in it, as you have. I don't know whether I have or not. It's for other people to judge. But we all gain this wisdom. So, yes, you were like that. And yes, I was a Danny Dollar chaser at one time. I used to chase the dollars, or well, say dollars, I used to be, they used to call us architectural mercenaries because basically you're doing a bleeding job for the money. That's it, Or not working on that. How much? All right, I'll do that, And this is the thing. But you wake up, you become wise. And look at it from another point of view. Mozart was shit at music when he was 3 months old, but it's only when he grew up, he knew something about music. So we're all shit at something when we're younger.
Yeah.
So you had to go through that experience. All right, it took a long time. It took a long time with me. It takes a long time with a lot of people. Hell of a lot of people. There's a bloke, what's his name now? I can't think. He's a multimillionaire. He used to go out shooting tigers and shooting animals. I'm not sure he's a vegetarian now, but he loves animals now. And he's completely against these arseholes that go out shooting animals. So it's surprising. Again, look at Jimmy Boyle, gangland leader. Turns out to be a pacifist who tries to stop, things happening. So it stops people killing each other. Now, the other thing is, I do not believe I'm going to upset people that there's going to be a huge awakening, because a huge awakening was what was told to people after World War I. It's bullshit. The only awakening is going to be within us. We got to do something. We can't sit back and wait for it's going to be a psychic shift and it's going to be a global awakening. Bullshit. We've got to do it, because if we don't do it, our enemy's going to do it.
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't fall for any of the new age baloney, and there's loads of it out there. You're exactly right. It has to come from us. It starts here, it goes there, and then we have to put it into action ourselves.
That's it.
There's none of this fairy beam, love and light energy from the Pleiadian galaxy is going to solve the mess that we created for ourselves.
We are at Earth's school, spot on. And you see, the thing is that with all this global awakening, that was actually said to people in the early 1920s from the Secret Service to stop people running through the streets and saying, we're not standing for this anymore. And if you look at the newspapers from that period, you'll find lot of civil unrest, but it's all tucked away in page 5 and page 6 in little squares. Like in Luton, there was a riot in Luton and places like that. So this is the thing, what we've got to work out, who our enemy is. They're very cunning, what they do, and they also have controlled opposition, and they're very good at that as well. Certain news places that are governed by Ofcom, and I won't say what news places they were, but people say, oh, he's saying this, he's saying that. Yes, there's lots of what I call Pied Pipers, who tell people what they want to hear. Yes, we don't want this. And then they gradually nudge their minds into the way they want you to go. And I think Nigel Farage is a Pied Piper. I think Trump was a Pied Piper. And this geezer
Yeah.
from Luton, Pied Piper. They tell people what they want to hear. And it always ends up, unfortunately, in violence. And that's
Yeah.
the last thing we want, because our government are skilled at violence. That's what they act upon us. We don't want to go down that road. We want to be peaceful, and we want to turn the police against the government and put the police on our
Yeah.
side.
I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Even though my career was based upon violence, I don't sort of what's the word? I don't mince my words. My job was to murder people because I was paid to kill people at the bequest of the crown as a soul dead individual, a killer for money. I mean, obviously, I can't see any logic in that at my current understanding, but I did at the time because I was under massive amounts of mind control, because the society that I grew up with was established in mind control and didn't advocate at all in the slightest for natural law. So I advocate for natural law, not because it's a new religion, it's not a new age hippie culture. It is how the universe operates, because it is the science of how the spiritual laws function. And if we understand these in a greater scale, and we understand how the universe actually works, as opposed to all the hippie nonsense that a lot of people will believe based on erroneous
Woo-woo.
junk. Yeah, woo-woo junk. When people realize the truth and principle, which can be proven using science, when people understand the spiritual laws that govern their reality, then there is no escape from that unless we choose to remain in ignorance. So if we want to have a peaceful coexistence, we have to work with nature and the laws that set the boundary conditions for that. We can argue this till the end of time. That is it. There's no change from that. If other people want to have other opinions based on their lack of understanding on that, well, just stand by for Trump invading Greenland and all the rest of the junk that's coming.
If you sat listening to the news all day, what I'm talking about is the bullshit news, the official news, you'd be in a state of a nervous breakdown by the end of the day, I would have thought, because it's all fear porn all the time. And what we mustn't do, you see, like attracts like. And people say, oh, yes, well, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. No, we just ignore that. And we think positive. And we've got to plan. You see, the thing is, our enemy has got a plan. They've got an agenda. We've got to have a plan. We've got to have an agenda. And the worst thing we can have is negativity. We've got to be positive. We're going to win. Coming second isn't an option. We're going to win. This is what we've got to be really positive in what we're going to do, because every one of us is a frontline troop. Every one of us.
Do you know what? I don't disagree at all with being positive, but I think the one thing that trumps any type of positive mindset is acting upon truth. And until people understand the truth in a higher degree, then we can't act upon it. You can be positive forever, but if you're not positive and have the truth to work to, then we're back in a losing battle. So, I mean, I obviously put more detail into this in the Occult Academy. There's more information in Nathan's book, Fake Awake, which explains this in a lot more detail. Again, I've given sort of sketchy information so far. There's a lot to kind of understand to get this established in a wider scale. But where it has to work, somebody's mentioned, I forget who it was, that they can feel the energy shifting or something along those lines. And sorry if I've got not quite got that right.
Yeah, I can't find it. It's something about there's a shift of energy.
Yeah,
perhaps it's the cornflakes you had this morning.
Yeah, but what needs to happen is one mind at a time needs to change and advocate for truth. The truth based in natural law, because this isn't my law. This isn't me making it up based on my opinion. This is the architecture of the universe as written into the principles of its spiritual values, which are all provable. and all people have to become more understanding of this, and then they have to align their behaviors to what they've figured out, and which it's all about morality. It's all about basing our actions upon moral principles. Then the universe changes in favor of peaceful coexistence.
That's spot on. I mean, Stephen Truthseeker says maybe there's a secret base under Greenland. I bet that latest one is there's UFOs there. Oh, really? Or there's long lost secret technology after the ancient nuclear war, or maybe it's the minerals or multiple reasons. Well, no, I think what it is, America wants Canada, Greenland. That's part of their part, and it's empires. That's basically what it is. What there is under Greenland and why I want to go to Greenland. I'm bleeding foggiest idea.
Yeah, I don't even care what's at Greenland. All I know is that these maniacs want to play chess with the way the world functions. I mean, and we allow them because we don't stop them. If we don't stop them, they're just going to continue to screw everything up.
Have you ever been to Greenland, though, Steve? On your military exercises and things?
I've flown over it.
So it seems a bit of a desolate dump, isn't it? A miserable, desolate, nothing but snow and ice.
I didn't see enough, to be honest. I'm sure it's a wonderful place.
Well, there's only about half a dozen people live there, I think. I don't know. It's not that many people. But
I mean, can I just mention? I'll just mention it by example. So obviously, I advocate for natural law and morality. Is it we've already established, again using truth and principle, that morality is actions based in right principles. So a right is do no harm to any other living being. If somebody invades or threatens to invade another country and, I don't know, terrorize, kill, capture, or whatever the people in that place, is that moral or immoral? I think we all know the answer. Every part of that is immoral. Therefore, Trump is immoral. Therefore, the Trump administration is immoral. Therefore, the American government is immoral. Therefore, the taxpaying public of America are immoral.
Well,
we need to change one mind at a time.
Also, apart from Pearl Harbor, which is in Hawaii, it's not part of America. Well, it wasn't then. Because Hawaii, I think in 1959, became a state of America. The American mainland hasn't really been under threat. Now, this country, the only time there was a real threat was 1066, as far as I'm concerned. After that, there wasn't really any threat from any enemy, because in the First World War, we had a navy that could have blown anything out of the bleeding water. And Germany were afraid of it. And in the Second World War, it's similar. We weren't under really any threat as such. We just stick our nose into trouble and cause war. And why is that? One word: government. That's it. Government all the way through. Government is. I mean, what? There was a record years ago. War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. I'd change that word war to government. What is it actually good for? Nothing. Nothing at all. I mean, what, it sounds a bit like, what have the Romans ever done for us? What government's ever done for us? They're not. Yeah. They're there for themselves. They always have been, Anyway, Steve, I don't know about you. We've had a fantastic show tonight. And it's a pity we didn't do any survival stuff, but you're coming on. You're coming on soon, aren't you? Let's have a quick look, see where we are. Got me little chart here. I've got it on a piece of paper. Well, I prefer it this way because you don't have to look for it on these files. And there it is. And you're due on bloody Nora. You're not on until March, huh?
Well, if you've got any gaps in the programme, I'm happy to jump on.
There certainly is, yes, there certainly is. I mean, there's Sunday the 25th, next Sunday.
What? I'll see. I might, yeah.
Well, you got the latest chart. I think it's the latest chart. And there's 30. And of course, there's the Friday specials. We've got this Friday special. Yeah, we could do a Friday special. That's coming up on the 30th. That isn't booked.
Okay.
So because we got to do that, because I was really keen to find out about the survival stuff. But it's a bit late, isn't it? Really.
Well, I've got loads of stuff here. I've got stuff on the table next to me, which
mate, I'm
which
ever
I was
so
gonna.
sorry. I'm ever
No,
so sorry. You know, that would
Wait.
have been great to have shown.
but we can do this another time. You know, perhaps if I get the chance to come on again, I can go into winter survival
Chance,
stuff.
you've always more than welcome. You're part of the team. Yeah, it's not a chance to go on. It's you're part of the team. And winter survival, yeah, you're still being time for winter survival. And I think that's what's really needed a lot. And I mean, I've still got my weapon with me.
Well, I tell you what, brilliant. I've got another one. Next time I do a self-defense thing, I'll show you some different self-defense gadgets that might, be used.
Oh, I'm interested. And
Yeah.
apparently, Cleo Lane advised this when she was alive. She said she was told that if there's any if there's a possibility she might get raped, and she's sitting on the Newark subway, and there's this rather unscrupulous character opposite her, she was advised to pick her nose. So there she was going. She wasn't touched. Sounds disgusting, but she said yes. She said that'll turn a rapist off. So there we go. You know. So next time my neighbour's dog fancies my leg, do you reckon I should pick my nose? No. Anyway, Steve, thanks a million for coming on. It's bloody brilliant that was.
Hey, thanks for having me. Hey, thanks to everybody tuning in because there's been some great questions.
I've really enjoyed it tonight. You know, it's gone
Yeah,
really fast. I'm only going off because I'm a bit knackered because I'm always knackered on Mondays because the Sunday sort of wears me down. But we're back again on Thursday. And I'm on Paul English show on Thursday. Of course, the 26th, which I think is next Monday, is when Food for Thought Radio starts. So, and looking at the paper, what we got here, we've got Donald. The next guest is on the Monday, which will be Donald Jeffries, and he's quite famous in America. He does a podcast. And it's a huge audience. And it's thanks to Patrick that's got Donald on.
Oh, brilliant.
So that's pretty good.
Brilliant.
And then, but the Sunday is free. So if you're free on Sunday, and then Monday might be, we got the 26th. And then, of course, we got the Friday special, which is still empty, which is the 30th.
All right, happy days. I'll be in. Keep in touch, and I'll do likewise.
Please do, yeah, because I think that it'd be. And also, have you got any of your survival adventures to plug whilst we're here?
The next one I'm doing is down in North Wales again in the end of May, I think. Yeah, it's the last weekend of May, I believe. But I'll find out some more details. Obviously, I've got the Survive the Apocalypse channel on Telegram, which if anyone's interested.
Oh yes, Survive the Apocalypse. And also, have you thought of? Are you doing any more talks with Nathan going around the country?
I don't know if we've got anything planned, but we're certainly up for that. And we've obviously got a little podcast thing going, which I think there might be one coming online the next few days, I would have thought.
Oh, excellent! So that'll be on your Survive the Apocalypse channel.
That's actually on YouTube. So
oh, brilliant! That's it.
I mean, I'll put a link on the Occult Academy for that if anyone's a member of that. If not, I'd like to think it's not a bad platform for putting the information about natural law out there. So hopefully that's helpful to people.
Well, I'm going to do a load of shorts, not as in the trouser department, but shorts as in on YouTube, which you might be interested in because, like little survival tips, 5 minutes. And I think that they tend to work. And I'm going to be doing top tips, not survival because I'm not skilled in that, but going to be top tips on how to change your chain on a bike and things like that.
Oh yeah,
and how to lock it up. People don't think of this. When you lock your bike up, get yourself have a main lock to lock it obviously to a post or something, but then get one of these little tiny packing case locks from the pound shop and put that over your chain. Now, if someone comes along with an angle grinder, they'll knacker your train up trying to get your lock off. But always put a big tag on it because you could cycle off and forget it and go arse over tits. So there we go. So little things like that. By the way, what's the YouTube channel?
Do you know? I think it's called Yeah, that's it. If it's called Nathan Lucius and Steve James at the minute. So
That's it.
I think we're looking to call it something else. It's something with a quirky, catchy title. But I'll see if I can post a link on Fockham Hall radio channel, if that's all right.
Please do. And also, Aunt Sally's given some very good survival advice here. She says, if you pick your nose on the subway, don't. Oh my God, Father! Don't lick your lips like it was delicious.
Oh, dear me.
He just put me off my breakfast. That's tomorrow morning as well. So there we go. Now, was it? He's going to rename it Drunken Alchemists.
I love it.
That's it. Steve, I'm really looking forward to those survival tips. Seriously, I really like them.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, that idea that you were showing the other week was fantastic. And they're very straight, really simple. And I actually think we could do little shorts like that on carve out and put it on YouTube. Or although Nathan's against TikTok, people are getting a lot of successes on TikTok. And does it really matter if the Chinese government find out? Survival Steve, he will put pen in pocket as a secret weapon. Well, good idea, that. Sorry, I mean, I don't think so. I don't think you'll have the Chinese army knocking on your door saying, can I use one of those as a weapon? You know, I mean,
yeah. Well, if the Chinese army wanted to stop by for a beer one day, I'd gladly tell them how their job's a joke and that they need to leave, as I would with every single serving soldier in the world and every single serving police officer. They just all need to leave. Get a proper job, bunch of maniacs.
What's this? I'm not about to do that, mate. If you put TikTok on your phone, I'm not going to put bleeding TikTok on your phone. No, of course I'm not. No, my phone's been acting a bit strange recently. You switch it on, it sort of goes. I'll have to take the battery out and put it back in again. I don't know quite why.
It'll be MI5. They're on here.
They're probably on me, yeah. Get the boys. So, evening, boys, if they're looking in. What's it? Now, Nathan said, then TikTok is granted access to everything on your phone legally. Yeah, I'm not going to put it on my bloody phone. So, there we are.
Speaking of MI5, I invite MI5, MI6, Brigade 77, the CIA. I invite them all to my presentations, but none of them ever come.
Miserable sods. Or perhaps they come sort of. Perhaps it's the sort of the one in the raincoat sit at the back, sort of writing notes, you know. But what gets me is there's loads of ex-CIA people on YouTube. There's so many ex-CIA people. I mean, they must have had bleeding thousands or millions of people in the CIA.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. It's the same on the PC, mate, as Nathan Lucius says. Oh, well, I'm buggered then, aren't I? But no, all right. YouTube Shorts, that'd be all right.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you everyone for coming on the show. We've had some good guests. We've had Paul, who's the bus person. We've had David, and of course, star of the show, Survival Steve. And we'll talk about booking some closer than although next month is not that far away, is it now? It's quite surprising how the year's going. And have you noticed the night's drawing out a little bit more? I've noticed that. It's about 4:30 now down here.
Yeah, I know.
Where you are.
Yeah.
And I like that. I do not like that. How people can live in places like Sweden where it's dark for so long. Oh, it gets. But mind you, is it right in the winter you get less light in the winter? Because it gets dark about 3 o'clock.
I'm trying to remember because I've been to various places in the Arctic Circle. And it doesn't get dark. I think it's during the summer months it doesn't get dark. It's like permanent daylight, and then during the winter it's like dark all the time. So it's quite weird.
Because I used to work with a bloke who was mad on Iceland. He used to go to Iceland, not the supermarket. I mean the country. And he said you'd be sitting down, and this is in the summer, and you think it's 9 o'clock, and it's 5 to 12 at night. And the sun goes down for about sort of 6 to 10 minutes, and it comes up again. Iceland is a very weird country. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's very, very weird. I've never been there.
No, I've not been.
and they reckon that the only industry there is fishing on the American Air Force Base, and that's it. And but it's, I'm not sure I'd like to live there. It's a bit of a miserable bleeding country, I think. You know, I'm more of a sort of hot country type person. Morocco, that seems to be. Is that one of your favourites, by the way, Morocco? You seem to like that.
I've been there. It's definitely interesting. Definitely worth a visit.
Yes. But New Zealand sounds interesting to me. I've never been south of the equator, so you know.
No.
But they reckon that if you're ex-military, you can get a very good job in New Zealand. Seriously.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I don't know if they'd, I might fail the interview if I went for a job.
Well,
I'm just waiting for my call-up papers for Russia.
Yes. That'd be, or why not join the Russian army instead? Hello, comrade. I'll tell you something. It's a bit. Was it? I think we can get. Was it 1.5 units or something? They got about. They'll pulverize us. I mean, it doesn't matter how strong we are. They're absolutely. I mean, it's just bonkers. I mean, I'm not a military person, but when you see the size of Russia, the size of their army, I mean, the size of they saw it on a graph, and it's about that high, the Russian army, and it's got the British sort of down there. I mean, it'd be like the mouse that roared, wouldn't it? Really? I mean, however tough we are, bloody hell, you know.
Hopefully, if enough people do the good work and spread the news about morality and come to an occult understanding, all the soldiers, and I was a soldier, I was brain dead, mind controlled, all of them will come to my understanding. Then they'll be like, we must have been nuts to do this, to go off and kill each other for the Rothschilds. We must have been mental.
Well, back to the first. That's right. I mean, back to the First World War, the senior ranks were worried that in the trenches they used. Seriously, they used to go in and out each other's trenches, the British and the Germans. They started to get on quite well. They had to stop it. And that's true. Look at them football on Christmas Day. They're all playing football. And they're killing each other next day.
Yeah.
It's bonkers.
It is. It's absurd.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a killing machine. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for coming on tonight, Steve. And it just leaves me to say, whatever happens, please put the thumbs up. Subscribe, and also to Steve and Nathan's channel. Put the thumbs up. Subscribe, that. And if have you got buy me a coffee? Yeah, got to have a buy me coffee on your channel.
I'll buy you a coffee.
No, I'll buy you a coffee. How's that? And we could all have for coffee. We could. Sorry, it'll be for coffee. No, seriously, you can't put your food. No, seriously, put it on your channel, mate. That'd be good. Buy me a coffee. So you and Nathan, you earn a bit of the old crusty stuff. So there we are. So anyway, whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh and good night.
Bye, folks.